Welcome back once again. We are up to session 4 of Wednesday's program for the Australian Floral Art Association Convention, New Visions. This session is a workshop and demonstration with Preeti Sarda from India. So now let me introduce to you Preeti Sarda from India. I'm going to read my notes. So once again, I'll be side on for a little while. The infinitely changing world of creative arts, along with its layers of stories and interpretations, has always intrigued Preeti. As a child, she was enchanted by the magical experiences created by the settings, decor, and artistic thoughts across any and all occasions, like festivals, marriages, or just a bright summer day. With artistry at her core, she found that she was also extremely drawn to nature, and that she has a great appreciation for ideas that work in tune with our environment rather than disrupting it. With that, she found her purpose, celebrating mindfully. Hailing from Kolkata, Preeti Sarda describes herself as a keen crafter who found florals and fibres. She gets tremendous pleasure in picking something from nature to remold, restructure, and redesign to create something that is at once unique and perfectly suited for our environment. Ultimately, she strives to create designs that induce a childlike wonder in her audience, and I'm sure we'll feel that this afternoon. In 2013, Preeti joined her local floral group, the Pushpavatan Friendship Society, and set out on a journey that has thus far taken her from India to Ireland, Singapore, Canada, England, Barbados, Kenya, Hong Kong, China, and Australia. And certainly we saw her in Australia in 2018, where she gave us a workshop at the National Convention that was held in Canberra. In that time, she has competed in world flower shows where she received commendations. At Blackpool, she placed 3rd, had the most innovative design at the Singapore Garden Festival in 2016, and won gold at Canada Blooms. Besides competing, she has taken on judging as well, having learnt from pioneers like Valerie Best, Madhu Shah, Leslie Sturdy, and Hitomi Gilliam. She's now a qualified national judge and an area demonstrator. Lately, Preeti has ventured into demonstrations, and landscapes, miniatures, tapestry, collage, crafting, and petite designs are her specialty. She's recognised as an expert in the most versatile natural material she has found so far, jute fibre. She is in absolute awe of the capabilities that jute has in crafting, so much so that, as we heard from Parul, she has created a step-by-step guide to its uses and has endeavoured to make it more accessible via her new e-commerce platform, Decorous. Let's be inspired by this talented designer this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming Preeti Sarda from India. Namaste, Preeti.
Thank you for having me over today to do this little workshop and demonstration. You all are such talented artists in yourselves, and to present something to you that would be exciting for you was not an easy task. I hope I can show you things or share with you what I think would be lovely. To work with jute has been something that I've really enjoyed doing for some time now, and using different crafting techniques and being able to apply it to the jute material has really made my interest in it even more. And I'm trying today to share a few techniques which can be applied to other material too, but definitely can be done with jute too. So I have actually created a totem pole of techniques. So I'd like to call it that because there are a number of techniques which I would like to share. We'll go step by step on it and try to do each. It takes a while to complete the thing because it's a repetition of the same step. But I have short videos, and we can do it hands-on for us to be able to see how we can create these different textures. They are with the same material, but they give a different look each time they are manipulated in a different way. So this is how we go about it. I'll show a particular technique, a video on it, show it hands-on over here also, and then see its application on a design. While I am doing the technique myself over here, I would think you can try it on yourself, as there are 6 techniques in this. Trying it together would be good, because so that we can move on and at least have an idea of what is trying to be shown, so that in case there are questions or queries about it, this section is weaving, which is done with the ball of jute that you have received. And it is also, we use straws to do this. This craft is picked up from the craft of lye making in Hawaii, and it is adapted. It is done with wool over there and other yarns, and this is just been adapted to jute, and it can be used for other materials too. So let us have a little video to see the technique up close, and then we'll try and do it over here too. The video is just condensed and made small so that you can see the end result once, and then we can come back and try and do it again. And wire has to be put into 2 of the straws, 2 of the 4 straws, and they have to be taped on top. You can put yarn into 2 of the other straws, and the yarn can also be put into the slit where the straw has been cut, and that has to be then taped onto the straw so that it doesn't move out of place. Why we have the wires is because that just makes the malleability of the strip that we will be able to weave in possible, so that we can make a circular shape with it. So once you have your straws ready, with 2 with yarn and 2 with wire, you place the wire straws on the 2 ends and the yarn straws in the middle. And you take up one end of the wire, wire straw, and you tie the ball of yarn, the one end of the ball of the yarn, to the first wire straw, and make a knot. Once that is done, you just place the 2 thread yarns in the middle and then begin the weaving. You have to interweave between the 4 straws, and they go in and out simply, and back and forth. We go from one end to the other and back and forth like this. We have to make quite a few lines of this. Initially, when you begin, it's kind of loose because the straws kind of move on their own. But as you start making more of the weaves, they kind of hold on better, and you just need to interlace it into the straws, making it easy for you to build up the weave. As you go in and out of it, you are also able to see that it becomes stronger to hold, and then it also makes the straws stay in place more easily. Once you have enough on the straw, you just push it down a little off the straw, but keeping a section of it on the straw so that the later sections are easy to be made. And that's how you continue making about 12 to 14 inches of this sort of weaving. And that is how you create this whole weave. So you see that most of the weaving has now moved on to the wire and the yarn inside, and partly it is on the straw just for it to be convenient for you to keep weaving till you come to the end. Once you feel that you have done enough, then you can knot up the thread at one corner, and then you have to push down the woven part and try to pull out the straws a little up. You try to move them up so that it is easy to cut. Once they are a little out, we just snip off the straws where the sellotape is on, and then we remove the straws. We tie up the yarn in the middle, and then we take up the wire from both the ends, and we join the wires to create a ring. We do that with the wires on both the sides. And once that is done, we just hook it on and use our pliers to be able to just secure it well and in place. We try some more knots on the thread that is remaining to just make that area strong and clean. We just need to manipulate it a bit. Maybe on the mat, we place it and then we just push it down so that it has that circular form come up easily. Just needs a little bit of manipulation so that the wire gets into the shape that is required to be. And then it is able to create this sort of a material kind of a thing, which is quite interesting and just created by string. So this was the first technique where we use where we do this. So I would suggest that you try and begin doing this. You could use the threads and the wires and make it. You could also use 2 or 3 or 4 straws to do this, and you can use the balls. So would you like to, I would suggest that you start trying to make this so that if there are queries or you want to figure how it is done, then it would be possible to ask now. I'm just doing it with 2 straws for now, just for you to get a closer look and an idea of how it can be done. If you feel you don't want to do, you want to do a thinner version of what was done, you could do that, and you could use up to 10, 11 straws to do the weave too. It's very easy to just push it off the straw a little bit, but have some on it so that when you're working on it, it's just easy. This works well. So doing it in 2s, in 3s, in 7s, anything works. It's a very easy technique. And I would also like to show its application in the design, in a design. So once you have enough, you just simply push this. So you can go up to any size really, and because of the wire, it just goes around very well. And definitely, like if you would like to place it on the top or bottom, you don't even have to make that much, and it kind of sits really well once you have cut off the edges and then bound them together. So it's this technique is really very interesting for us to be able to adapt in our flower arranging. And while you're trying this out, maybe I can just put this same technique into a design and show it to you, it being done in a different material. So here I have just pre-built a design. This is also made with jute sliver. This framework over here is just done on a wire mesh, and it has been put onto a metal stand, and there is wire inside these spokes on which we have bound sliver, and I have tied it up with jute thread. So this creates like the base for the design. And I have just inserted the flowers beforehand for me to be able to show you the use of this weave in this material. So I have used this coconut coconut yarn, coconut rope to do the same weaving. So it's the same technique, but on the straw, instead of jute, I have used coconut yarn. And I have also used banana fiber to do the same thing. So this can be done with so many other materials too. And then the spikes are there for which help me to place these easily. As we have wire inside this, it kind of just falls in place quite conveniently. And we are able to create an airy, a space which is airy. As the straw creates a space in between, you can see how easy it is for me to just poke this into these spokes and have them in place without too much of other material used to keep them in place also. The banana fiber is also a very soft and wonderful fiber to use. It comes in small strands, but can be knotted together, and they really give a very organic and nice effect. Yes, the fiber also comes from the stem of the banana plant. So this weave can actually be made broader too. And it's very interesting to use this because it's another version of maybe something like Hitomi's sticks, which we use very often and is very convenient to work with. Because of the hole that they have, it's very easy to insert stuff into this also, the tubes and all also. If we were to place them flat, then we could have tubes go into them quite easily too. So I have some leather fern which I have in small bottles, which I am just inserting between these to give a little bit of green to the design. The bottles have some water in them already so that the ferns are kept, remain hydrated. So here's this first design with its application of the woven weaving technique with straw. So the next one is the one at the base over here, which is kind of frilly. This material is actually a byproduct or a wastage that comes out of cloth when cloth is being made at the factories. And honestly, it really feels wonderful for us to be able to use something and make it look nice. If it was just going into waste, but we can actually use it and make something that looks pretty. It really is good. So I have used this again with the straw weaving technique. And again, we will need 3 straws for it. I'll just begin the video and explain it, and then we'll work on it simultaneously also. So we'll do the next video, which shows this other way of straw weaving, where you use the white yarn and you use the frill that you have been given with 3 straws, into which you will be putting the jute wire. There's a bundle of jute wire that you've been provided with. So you just have just a small bit of jute wire needs to be put into the straw in the same way as the first one, and have 3 straws ready. And then we will see the video as to how we can use this frill and the jute ball to create another weave. So again, we need to cut the straws at the edge and then put the wire in and secure it there, so that when we are weaving, it doesn't come in our way. And we do that with all the 3 straws. Once we have the 3 straws ready, we attach on one end of one of the straws, 2 of the straws, we attach the frill with a simple knot. And on the remaining straw, we will put at one end of the ball of jute. So just to let you know that we just attach this material just on the base of the straw, not too low and not too high on the straw, because if it's on the straw, then it becomes very loose once it falls off the straw. So it's just at the base of the straw. So now what happens is that the yarn is used to just weave into the first and second straw. Just the 2 straws, the first and the middle, its own straw and the middle straw. And we do that twice. And then we do the same thing with the frill. We put the frill into the first, weave it around the first straw, and then the middle straw, that too twice. And we repeat the same thing with the thread again. So it's 2 times with the thread and 2 times with the frill. So we do not go to the 3rd straw either from the frill or from the thread. We do not go to the 3rd straw for either of them. So at one end, we are creating the weave with the string, and the other end, we are creating the weave with the frill. And again, this can be done for as long as we want it to be. This is again a technique from the Hawaii lie making techniques, where they use this frilly yarn to do this thing, and it has yeah, it looks like a streamer. Yeah, so you can see that the string like kind of just holds on to the frill, and the string also has its own loop on top, and because we have the thread inside it, everything holds on. Once we get to the ends, we remove the straws and tie up the frill and end that up, and plus tie up the strings also. And as we did with the first ring of red yarn, we can similarly just create a wreath like ring with this material too. But this has its own fussiness and frill to it. So this is how it just turns out and looks. And yes, would you like to have a try on this? Just tying it onto one of the straws also works. Tying the ball onto the other straw on the other end. Placing them together, keeping the ball on one side, the frill on the other. Just going in and out only on 2 straws, twice, and then doing the same with the string. The center and the outer straw. You just need to pull on the first few. Once you just need to pull a little bit so that there's no lag. No slack. Oops. So this is how we create this. As you can see, this frill is bound at one corner, but it is straight like this. And this can also be like placed, overlapped and placed one on top of the other to create just like, you know, pasted one on top of the other also to create another feel and form and different forms also. So here we have jute paper on the base, and there are some dried branches, and this is a frill which has been attached from the base, one overlapping the other frill, just cut into this shape and then just placed to create this form. I have little pockets over here because I have just given a little dimension so that then I can put my plant material in here. So it just creates a texture, an interesting texture, and can be used in this way. I'll definitely send you pictures of this design too later. I have my flowers in tubes, and then to insert the tubes into these pockets is quite easy. So this is just an application of the frill, jute frill pasted onto paper, and can be used in this form also. So in your kit, you do have a needle provided to you. It may not be with this handle, but you do have a needle that has been provided. It may not be with the handle, but you do have a needle. It's a felting needle. It's a barbed felting needle. So you can use a piece of styrofoam or sponge, and you also have this jute sliver, and we'll see a little video to just see what it is done and then try and do it here also. So we can use like a rice bag or styrofoam or sponge to do the felting on. We take the sliver and wrap it into a ball shape really tight, and then use the needle to punch into it. This is called felting. I'm quite sure many of you know this craft because it is used. It's very popular in Australia, and it is used to make a lot of toys with. And so we can also felt jute with the coarser needles, and this is how it can be created into a 3D form. Making a ball is quite easy. Just needs to a little manipulation with the hand and a little punching into, and it kind of holds its shape. So we can try and do it now, just a little slowly. So I am using a rice bag, but you could use a piece of styrofoam or sponge or really anything that's soft enough for your needle to like go in, and not too much because the ball is big. Really, this cushion, even a cushion works because the needle will not go through the entire fiber and will not harm the base at all. So when we use the sliver to make the ball, we just really tightly bend it in the center first, and then overlap the edges, and then again bend it around really tight, and then create the ball of our size. Wherever there are these, wherever we're joining them in the undulations, we just hold that together, and then we just pierce the needle into that area. The fibers just get attached to each other, and they just stay in place that way. So it's quite simple, but just be careful that you don't hurt your fingers. Just keep away from it. There are tools which have more needles on them together. So if you want to do it really quickly and you want to make a lot of pieces, you can also use the tools which have more needles together. So this job gets done even more easily. So this is the ball that has been created on top over here of the totem pole. This felting technique I had used in the designs in South Africa, in the South Africa competitions also, where I used shaded sliver to make flat pieces, and it turned out quite interesting. Quite fond of this technique. Using glue and attaching stuff is good, but it has its own downsides. And so if you are if one is able to create a form or be able to do the fixing without using glue to attach it, it is quite interesting. And honestly, any form can be created with this. I have also put wire into the sliver and then felted it. So that also keeps its form very well. And I have made designs which are about 2 to 2.5 feet tall also, like really long stick, and with the wire inside, and just have felted it without using any sort of glue or anything. So, you know, the whole idea of trying to then cover up the glue or the mechanics or everything, you know, wire or something just doesn't come. I mean, is not there, because everything is just smooth because the upper layer is just felted on. This is a felting technique. So here's a little installation I've created using this technique. I have felted the colors into this onto a base felt, and created this, leaving the areas void in the middle, and then added stuck on wooden rings to that, and added this cane rim to it just to give textural difference. I also have felted these rods over here with which have wire in between, and then are be able to be manipulated. But we have attached them to each other with string. So here's the application of felt onto a flat 2D design, and you can also do 3D work with it. The next technique on this totem pole would be with wire. We'll do this making of this flower. So we will be using the wire that has been provided in your kit. We'll do the flower first. So we'll have the video where we show how to, where it's shown how to just create this flower. So here you apply some glue onto a wire. You cut a length of wire and apply some glue, and wrap the thread on this wire. Why we are using this for the flower shape? Because we wanted it to be sturdy. So it is on thicker wire that we have used than the normal jute wire that is available otherwise. That's why we wrap this on the thicker wire. And after wrapping it onto a certain length, which is about 90 centimeters in this case, but honestly, it can be done to any length and any size that you would want to. We just put a little bit of glue at the beginning and wrap it, and then put some glue at the end. Well, if you know the exact size of the material you'd require. In case you don't need and you want to wrap and then snip off, wherever you snip, all you need to do is just like add a little glue at the end. So it just keeps everything in place. So you wrap all this real quick onto the wire and add the glue and attach it nice and strong onto, and make this texture on this wire. The extra bit can be snipped off. Yeah, the glue takes a bit of time to get sturdy, but like, yes, it will dry up and be fine soon. And then we first make a circle, which is about 5 centimeters, like in breadth, like on the mat, you can see 5 squares. It's like as because it covers the 5 squares, and you just manipulate it to create a ring shape, or you can use something around, you can use a bottle or something to create that shape. And then we use a piece of the thread, one strand of the thread, loop it up in a way that one loop is coming on the other side and the other end is on the other, and we wrap it several times, and then put the thread into the loop that we've made, and then pull the other end, and then we create a knotless bind, cut the extras off, and we have a neat ring for the center ready. Similarly, we have more wire onto which we kind of make bends in A shape, V shape, A shape, V shape, and make this zigzag with with 5 bends. And then when we join together like this, moving it, stretching them apart a little bit, then we create this flower shape, and then we bind the end again with thread with the same technique of making a loop in the beginning and then wrapping it and finishing it off to create this form. We put the ring in the center, and then we just wrap each corner, each edge of the star-shaped flower with thread. You can actually glue it on also, but as I decided to use minimal glue in these techniques, I just find it very convenient to wrap it with, bind it with thread. Even if you bind it in alternate sections, it's good enough. Because jute is fibrous, it kind of sticks onto everything quite easily. Just humidity here makes it stick a little slower, but I'm sure back in your country it's really quick. So then we use the jute wire, which is like bind wire, but it just has jute instead of paper on top of it. And then we just go in, weave in and out of every petal of the flower shape that we've made, go under and over, and create the inside of the petal. At the end of it, when we come to the end, we just go to the edge and loop it up 2 times, and at the last one, just knot it, put it through the last loop so that it once it's cut, it doesn't fall off, as there is no more space left. And then it is just tucked in. Similarly, we do all the other petals. So yes, the weaving is just going in and out, over and under, and just creates like, it's easy to create that weave. Again, this can be done on bigger shapes and smaller like this. And then in smaller, it's easier to manipulate and get this form. So here is about bending it and bending it again and again to create the flower shape. If you decide to have more petals, you can just bend it that many more times or use longer wire, and then just joining it at the ends and then shaping them just keeps the form in shape. As the wire is quite thick, the form stays. Once we are using the jute wire inside, it just makes the shape even more stronger. So then the form stays. It takes a while to create this once, but then the flower can be used multiple times. And obviously there are many other shapes one can really do this technique in. I think I would like to show the knotting at the end with the strand of thread up close once again. This is done without actually using a knot. Many of you may know of it. Well, so I just take a strand, one strand of the three ply thread, and then when I'm trying to loop do the ring, I make a loop. I keep one end on one side and make a loop on the other end, and then I wrap the thread several times onto whichever bit I need to join, keeping the loop visible. Once I've done enough, I pass the end that I was wrapping into the loop. And then the previous end, which I had left loose in the beginning, I tug on that. When I tug on that, the loop that was into which I put the thread in earlier gets tightened. And the whole thing tightens up. Then I don't need to make knots. Simply need to cut out the edges and have a knotless, seamless bind. The wire that goes into the star form is simply just put in and out. This wire is a personal favorite with me. I love to work with this wire. It's available on my website. And then once they are all done, we just turn them around and we have the flower. The wire can also be used to make smart swirls. We use some glue, the edge, just making sure that it doesn't fray. Just using a little bit works very well. And then just making the swirl with the hands. Quite simple. Creates this form quite easily. And the totem pole, I have used this in the central area, several of them, just create another textural difference. So these swirls and obviously any other forms can also be made with this wire quite easily. So we cut, if you have to make several swirls, you just cut them to size in the beginning and then use some glue to do the edges from fraying. You just need to glue just both the ends so that they don't open up. So in this design of mine, I have a wire, these flowers were in two colors, white and brown. And I have pre-attached some dry material to this and some fresh green berries onto it. They are just found on the roadside, and there is some landlord pods also over here, which I have put all across this. The candle in the center, which is levitating, which is giving a levitating form. I have chrysanthemums, which I'm going to insert in between the flowers over here, just to give some color and fresh factor. If I were, there is wire on my tubes. So if I were really moving it around, I would have just tied it on to the flower form so that it wouldn't move out of place. Next technique is an inspiration from rug hooking. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of how rug hooking happens. I mean, how it is done. It's another craft from which I have picked up this idea, and it was quite easy to get the tools for it outside India, but I had to build them over here. So initially, when I was sending out the kits to you, I had to get them made over here, which didn't turn out really right. There is a hole maker in your kits, which is kind of not exactly the best of hole makers, but it does the job all right. But that's what it's used. That's what we'll use to do this technique. After I sent out the kits, which was about 4 months back, while I was working on this technique, I figured that if we actually used a crochet needle with a needle eye at the end, which looks something like this, it's faster and easier to do this technique. But I'm sorry, it took me a while to figure that. So initially I had done it by prodding holes into the material. But honestly, if you do have this, which I know is available in your country quite easily, which is like a crochet needle with an eye, needle eye at the base. This is, yeah. So this is like really easy, really helpful to make it work easily on the material that we will be doing. So sorry about sending the ancient tool, but this will work very well. Yeah, so the materials that we'll have a video on this too, but the materials that you will need are this jute net that has been provided, plus the hoop for you to use on this, and there is the sliver strips which are in this package. This is again something that we have developed over here at our factory. So it is jute sliver, which is pasted on the machine, so it has a beautiful texture. And we're going to use these with this needle and a pair of scissors to do this next technique. So we'll go on to see the video and then try doing it ourselves over here. So we just hoop onto the material onto the embroidery hoop and like make it nice and taut. And because I was designing this for putting it on the paper pole that I have sent, the cone that I have sent, I thought leaving the space in the center was wise, so that it would be easy to sit onto the cone. But I mean, it's just for this design. You really don't have to leave the center bit otherwise. Then you just have to measure about 4 fingers, 8 fingers broad piece of this sliver, which you cut, you strip into half, and then just fold it along and make many strips, similar size strips. It does have to be just similar, not same. It's not required. And then we just use the hole maker to prod holes into the material and then pull out the strips that we have just cut into from one end, and then the other end goes into the next hole that we make, and we create this the two ends coming out. We just create these long hair-like structures, hair-like bits coming out, and we keep doing this repetitively next to each other, just like they rug hook carpets. And there also are cushions made like this, only that they are made with strips of cloth and other material, but we can do this with jute. And these strips, with this, the hole maker also, the net can be pierced in quite easily. But as I said, if you were using this other needle, it would be much faster. In that case, you would not have to really cut those into pieces. You could just make loops and then cut it. We'll do that bit over here just now when I'm showing it to you live. And you just have to make sure that the holes that are created are not too close to each other, so that there is a little bit of cloth left in between, but that has to be really very little. But once you have done 5 or 6 strands and things, this the cloth in itself becomes very strong. So it kind of holds everything, because now it has that other layer underneath which is being built. So it's don't worry about it kind of, disintegrating. It won't, because you are building the layer underneath also. So you kind of make this hedgehog feeling group of placements, and then you can make it as large as you like. And the back looks as if it's sewn into. We can just divide the strand into half, or if you want it thick enough, because if you have a needle which has a big eye, it can actually go into it quite easily. And the hoop can be used to just make the material taut for in the area in which you're working. That material can be made really, so that the making of the placement of those hooks is easy. Once you have this hoop, honestly, it's much easier, because you just push it in and go out, and you leave a length up. Oops, went off. It came out of the eye. So you just leave the loop up, and then it just pierces through this material quite easily, and you can pull it up again. Leave this to desired length and go back and push it in again. So we can make the loops slightly longer than what we desire. So once we do that, then later we can just cut it and then even chop it to the desired length. So they come out to be like this. You can see that the ends are, the base is also really neat. So if this is the back of a design too, it looks quite nice also. And sorry that these leaves have dried, but I used grass-like blades and put them into this too. You can see, use the same technique and put them in, then they were interspersed between the jute. It looks quite interesting too. So it's quite a versatile technique. Again, can be used with a number of materials, and obviously with fibers and yarns and stuff like that. So as it is being able to be used with such thick, broad fiber also, I'm sure things like typha and stuff will also work very well. And other plant material and other leaves, bare grass and steel grass would also work very well on this. So I have my final design, which I'll go to now. So this structure is an iron structure onto which I have put, we have just put the cloth on after doing this rug hooking onto this thing, and just wrapped it on the sides. It was hollow in the middle, and onto it I have put some Aradia leaves onto the edge, and have some of the Ixora flowers in with the freeze-dried coxcomb over here. So because it's free-dried, I could just put wire into it, and there's wire mesh inside, into which I am just inserting this freeze-dried coxcomb. So I hope you enjoyed it all, and would love to see you having tried the techniques at some point, somewhere, somehow. And thank you so much for being patiently seeing me through this whole process. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this to you. It's been wonderful.
Preeti Sarda, Jutawali Demonstrator Extraordinaire. Thank you for the demonstration and workshop. Once again, you have charmed us with your jute products, which are wonderful to work with. They just enhance our floral artwork, and we're so happy that you could be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I have to add my congratulations to both of you and to everyone that we've seen over the last 2 days. It just seems like it was gone in a moment, but it's been such a long time in the planning,